Hi guys, I'm back. My last part 2 I videotaped and edited, but it didn't want to load, so I'm hoping that this one will load a little bit faster, or actually load. So I think this is where I left off, where we had this piece and we're going to wrap it around. Taking the tape and making sure that it is tight and where your tape was before in the same spot. Just wrapping with the floral tape again, making sure it's nice and secure, going all the way down. Okay, so we've got the one layer. Now you're going to want to do that 3 more times because we cut out 3 of these, and I'm cutting the base off of those. You could just pull it apart, but I don't like the fringe, even though it's going to be hidden. Wherever there's a gap from the petals, that's where I like to make sure that the next petal is placed, just so when you open it up there's not big gaps. And just wrap that around. You want to make sure that that's somewhat tight, enclosed around and wrapped around, because you don't want loose petals, because the bottom will be somewhat loose with the individual petals. But the ones that are 2 petals or 3 petal templates that you cut out, you sort of want them tighter. But of course you always want the tape tight so it doesn't move around and shift around on you. Here's the next one, and you place it, making sure that the petals aren't too far up above. And wrap again. Wrap down. Try to not make a ledge and stop right where the coffee filter ends, because it'll be hard to get rid of that ledge with your floral tape at the end. So you just want to work your floral tape until it tapers down into a cone. Okay, so we're done with the 3 of those, and then you want to take 3 of the single petals and stagger them like so. So they're on top of each other like a fan. Find an open gap and place it there. You have to, this part's a little tricky because you have to hold it in place so it doesn't shift while you put the initial tape on in the beginning. But once you get the tape in it positioned, it's just like the same process. Wrap, wrap, wrap. Oops, I'm not in focus, sorry. Just went off camera. Alright. Again, 3 pieces, staggered, and finding a place, an empty gap. And align that up. Hold it down with your finger. Oopsie, it just adjusted. Place the tape, hold, and wrap. Now you can do the single petals as many times as you like. It really, playing with it and doing it a couple times, you at least need 3 sets of 3 in order for it to look appealing, but I tend to put more single petals on the last step than necessary, just to give it that full look. But of course, you don't have to. I'm going to put one more set on. It might seem like a lot, but the end result makes it look very, very full. So I think I'm going to place it right there, but I'm just doing the base of the flower here. And then you just pull down, and because this is made out of coffee filters, your paper can get very saturated without tearing. Of course, it will tear if you try to be too aggressive with it, but the purpose of it is not to tear, obviously, because you wouldn't want coffee grinds in your coffee. So it's pretty durable in terms of manipulating the leaves. So you shouldn't have a problem. If you were to make this flower out of cardstock, or there goes my phone, cardstock, or any other kind of paper material, you would find that you would probably have to dry each section before you painted the next, so that your paper wouldn't tear, and then your hard wrapping would not be successful, because you would have to start all over, because your flower would have fallen apart. The water, I don't have very much water in here, but that's okay. And I start from the bottom again. I pushed all those petals back up, and I cover. Now you don't have to cover each petal all the way, but I like to, especially depending on the color you're using, this yellow, I want all the petals to be yellow. I don't want any white showing. And the coffee filter does a wonderful job leaving no streaks. So we just keep on doing this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm most likely going to fast forward this process, because all it is applying and blending your water. And then after you do this step of painting, you want to, it's going to be very, very wet, so you can't mold the petals to well, so you're going to need to use a heat gun or let it air dry by itself. And I will be right back to talk to you after that. So we used the heating tool after we applied the water to the remaining leaves, and now it's time to shape it. Right now it looks pretty much like a flower, but of course we want to add the real look of how a rose looks in nature, and the petals aren't flat. Now we take the petals here, and some of them are still damp. And remember, I said that I used the heating tool to dry because they would be too wet to manipulate the petals the way you want it to look. See, I've got a gap here because I didn't place my petals right at the end. That's why more was probably better. You can't adjust it. The only way you could fix that is to add another leaf and color it. I'm not a leaf, petal, but that's okay because it might not be perfect and no one will know but me, I guess. Well, you guys, because I told you. But you want to open these up, and I noticed that I didn't get enough water on this one right there, and you can't probably tell with the lighting, but you just go back in and add that water to blend it. You don't have to. Sometimes it looks okay or whatnot, or you can add a different color or highlight in the center if you choose. And bring those petals back up because sometimes they've gotten pushed down because we worked from the bottom up, remember, and they were falling in a weird direction. So you just want to work those petals back up to where it's laying correctly. And that's one of the important reasons why you want to start your floral tape at every section at the same spot so you don't have big gaps when working with it, and see the floral tape in between each wrap. And the best tool, I think, is in almost everything that you do is our hands to manipulate things. Obviously, for the smaller details and certain techniques, you'll need the stylus. That's why I recommended having the stylus as a part of the tools needed for this project. But now what I'm going to do is crease some of these. Not all of them, because that would take way too long. Just some of them visually, what's appealing to you. The texture that the coffee filters make looks so much like leaves and petals that's why this flower ends up becoming so realistic looking. Now granted, touching it, a real rose, you know, feels almost silky. It won't feel silky, but